Delay. It seems to be the only thing we hear about Switch games nowadays. With more games getting delayed without so much as an announcement, I thought it would be fun to talk about them. So with that being said, I'm your host 24 Kevin here for 24 Kevin Tendo, and here's the 10 games that were delayed for the Nintendo Switch. Just so you know, this list will only include titles delayed on the Nintendo Switch. So even though games like Breath of the Wild were delayed on the Wii U, several times might I add, it was never delayed on the Switch, and thus it cannot be included. And we also won't be including patches or updates as they're not full games. Although you could argue that NBA Playground's patches actually made it a full game, but let's not get into that, and instead, into the list! Number 10, Infinite Mini Golf. This is the most recent delay on the list, and no one even knows why it was delayed for that matter. Leading up to the planned release date of July 25th, everything seemed to be in order, have it at launch at the same time as every other system. Unfortunately, the day before the planned release, Nintendo changed the release date to be determined, and Zen Studios set off to investigate why. The day of the release, they revealed that the Switch version would not be out that day and couldn't advise when it would be released in the future. It was released a few days later on July 28th, but the lack of communication between Nintendo and one of its developers is astounding. Had Nintendo given Zen Studios the heads up, they would have been able to work out all the kinks and may have even been able to get the game out at the intended launch date. Too little too late, I guess. At least it didn't take too long to rectify the issue, unlike other developers. Playgrounds. Number 9, Shakedown Hawaii. The follow-up to Retro City Rampage is supposed to be a Time Switch exclusive, coming to the Nintendo Switch before any other console. Or so it's supposed to be at least. The game was originally announced for April, but then April came and went, and we heard nothing about the situation. The release date was eventually pushed back, and while there was an announcement that Retro City Rampage DX will be coming to the Switch, it's still disconcerting that this didn't make its release window. Truthfully, I'm just an impatient Isaac, as I just wanted to pulverize pixels and enjoy all the retro violence my stomach can handle. Speaking of Isaac... Number 8, The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Originally intended as a launch game, Binding of Isaac unfortunately didn't quite make the launch window and opted to release later in March. Nicholas did however help the situation by adding more physical goodies, in stickers and an awesome tribute to the golden age of retro games with their physical booklet. It would have been a nice addition to the launch window and would probably have boosted sales substantially as Switch owners were desperate to buy any and all games available at the time. Number 7, Pocket Rumble. Initially shown on the original Nindy Showcase in February, this game was shown to have a release date set in March, and a lot of the online communities I'm a part of were wicked excited to get their hands on the fighter. March eventually came and went, and nothing was heard from the developers, except for an apology for the game taking so long. On April 13th, one of the developers took to Twitter to comment on the issue saying, "I have any idea, but it's not certain enough to say. The last time we announced something uncertain, we immediately found out it was wrong." What I will say is the reason it's been delayed was 1, the date we announced was too early to begin due to a miscommunication, and 2, working out the technical kinks of a port has just taken much longer than expected. They go on to say they wanted to submit a build check in a few days, but then nothing was ever reported again. I really think Pocket Rumble missed a golden opportunity by being the first online competitive multiplayer game on the Switch, and with all the hype gone, it's hard to imagine Pocket Rumble making an impact at this point. Number 6, Ukulele. One of the most anticipated games of the year, Ukulele has yet to provide an update on their Switch version in some time. At the time, the game was heralded as the next great collectathon and a return to Rare's Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 roots, guaranteed to be one heck of a nostalgia trip. Unfortunately, most reviewers found the game to be mediocre, with potential to be great if they could ever fix some of the bugs. Granted, there have been patches and Playtonic has refined some of these bugs. It's just been so long since the initial release of the game that there's little to no hype left, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how well this does sell on the Switch. Number 5, Redout. Another game that was scheduled for the launch window that didn't quite make it in time. Redout was scheduled for release in Q2. The devs actually revealed in an interview that the initial PC release required a great amount of resources, which resulted in a less allocated amount of time, more assets, regression bugs, and more optimization work for consoles. They did divulge that even though PC gamers got the game early, console gamers will get a more optimized version with the same content. At least they learned from NBA Playground's mistake and made sure the whole game was released at once and not through a patch that will be coming next week. Number 4, Bulb Boy. Originally scheduled for a June 26th release, a bunch of excited gamers flocked to the eShop for their chance to play this game, except nope! The game was nowhere to be found and its release date was changed to June 29th. Not that big of a wait, right? Well, that day came and went, and again, nothing was said beforehand. When asked about the release date on Twitter, Bulbware said, "This was our initial idea, but proved to be impossible. We look for the closest release window. Hopefully it's going to be in July. Cheers!" Granted, things do happen, but it would have been nice to get a heads up from the devs or Nintendo. I'm starting to sense a pattern here. Number 3. Rhyme. Initially planned to release in May alongside other consoles, Greybox Studios announced the game would launch for the Switch shortly thereafter. This wasn't the only thing that spurned Switch players, though. Rhyme was announced to have a $10 higher price point on the Switch, and the bonus for purchasing the physical copy? A downloadable soundtrack. At least some games that had an increased price point at least offered something small physically, like the aforementioned stickers or Puyo Puyo Tetris keychains. While the game has received positive reviews and finally received a release date of November 14th, one has to wonder if it'll get lost in the shuffle with games like WWE 2K18 and Super Mario Odyssey releasing the month before, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Rocket League coming shortly after. Number 2. Goner. Another indie game relegated to the same fate as so many more, Goner was scheduled for a June 8th release, but as the day came and went, nothing was seen or said, which was especially weird as Nintendo had this as a timed exclusive, and one would have to think they'd want to get the most out of their dollar. In an interview, the team behind Goner had this to say about the delay. "The delay is just a casualty of Unity and Switch software not playing together as well as we'd hoped in one particular instance. It's been resolved and resubmitted, so things are looking up." The devs' optimism was well warranted, as Goner released shortly thereafter on June 29th. Number 1. Stardew Valley. When Stardew Valley was announced for its summer release back at the original Nindies trailer in February, Nintendo fans went bananas as it brought them back to the days of good Harvest Moon games. Not only would Nintendo fans finally get the farming RPG, they would be the first to get the experience of multiplayer mode. Since then, the release date for Stardew Valley was changed from summer 2017 to just 2017, and little to nothing has been said since. We did get an update on August 1st from Tom Coxon that advised that they are working on the multiplayer aspect, with the Switch receiving it first, while also indicating that it may launch Stardew Valley without the multiplayer on the Switch, hopefully really soon. Now, despite all of these delays on these games, I always thought Shigeru Miyamoto said it best. A delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And that's our list. Know any other games that were delayed for the Switch that we missed? Leave a comment down below and let me know about it. For everyone here at 24KevinTendo, I'm your host 24Kevin. I gotta go though. I gotta go make my next video, and then delay it. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!